And here we go. So here we go. So a quick little session, just really to react to this video that's just come out. So this is Yemi Cardoso, the central bank, the CBN governor. I'm not sure if this is his first ever media appearance, but he's now had this interview with the Rice TV. So we're going to watch the interview in real time. Let me just turn something down. One moment. I beg your pardon. So we're going to watch the interview in real time, and then we'll react to it together. So this, I suspect, at least by my reckoning, this is Yemi Cardoso's first appearance within the media space. So let's listen then to because this probably is the most important man in Nigeria now, in charge of the monetary policy. So let's have a listen to what he has to say and see what we're making of it. So here is Yemi Cardoso. Let's listen to him.
And the moves to relocate some of the central banks. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Yemi Cardoso, says a forensic audit ordered by the regulator revealed a total of about $2.4 billion as invalid foreign currency claims by organizations and individuals against the CBN. Speaking with Arise business anchor Bosin Omofaye in his first ever exclusive interview, the CBN chief.
So already that's already started on quite an epic and an outlandish scale. So what the CBN governor is telling us is that close to $3 billion was invoiced to the CBN on the basis of ghost claims that have no validity, close to $2 billion invoiced to the CBN. So that's just what Ruben Abate said as the intro.
Says the balance of $2.3 billion valid claims of the $7 billion FX backlog will soon be cleared as part of confidence building for local and foreign investors. Cardoso also dispelled the rumors of plans to seize domiciliary accounts of Nigerians, as well as the February 27 monetary policy meeting, CBN interventions, the latest FX market reforms, and the moves to relocate some of the central bank staffers out of the bank's Abuja headquarters.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor, for speaking to Arise News at this point in time. Now, my first point is about what the key message of the central bank is in terms of the current state of the Naira and how to further stabilize the foreign exchange market. What's the key message that the central bank is trying to?
So that's the paramount most key question. That really is the economic question. What is your plan to defend the Naira? So that's the question being put to him.
To push out to the people, to the market, to investors, and everyone else in between.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me today. I think it's important to say that we are in a situation, or we have been in a situation in the recent past where there's been a shortage of liquidity in the market, in the foreign exchange market, arising from certain distortions. And that in itself has created a situation where there's been huge volatility in the market. We have
I hope it's not going to lose us in a technical language so that it confuses more than explains. So there's a shortage of liquidity and all of these things. We need layman's language in this interaction in order for us to be able to condense it. What is essentially saying is that there was never sufficient enough dollar within the system to defend the Naira. So we know that, but the question really is why. That is the why. No, it's the why that we're asking, not fable stories, but the why.
looked at this over the course of the past months and come up with certain policies which are focused on creating an environment where liquidity comes back to the market and where we can see a more vibrant market than we had before. It is ultimately, I see a situation where people who require foreign exchange don't have to know anybody in the banks, in either the central bank or the commercial bank. A system that is open and is transparent creates.
So he's talking aspirationally, but that's not what we want to hear. We can all we look forward to that future where somebody does not have to know anybody within the system in order to access the system. So we all look forward to that, and we're all happy that he looks forward to that too. But he is in the business, is in the employment of getting us to that space. So what is he doing then for us to get to that space is more the question, rather than him telling us that he looks forward to the future. We are all looking forward to the future, but how are you getting us there? This is the question to you, Yemi.
An environment for distortions to go away, and thereby those who want to bring in foreign exchange and those who want to demand it can do so on an open basis, willing buyer, willing seller basis, and therefore the market becomes more active and price is eventually discovered at a level that makes sense.
Interesting if that is part of what we call a free market and liberalizing the entire environment. But again, you have the domiciliary question about what the central bank or the government was planning or not planning to do. What's the true state of things as far as domiciliary accounts concerned in the commercial banks?
Yes. Now, from what I can see, there's been a recent publication, an article that went around stating that the federal government had intentions of using the domiciliary account balances and converting them to Naira. As the governor of the central bank, I can tell you that nothing could be further than the truth. And let me just illustrate this by saying the reforms that you have seen in the past months, which have obviously culminated in the Naira exchange becoming a little bit more, or becoming a little less volatile, and ultimately will be stable, has had to embrace market reforms.
All right, just before we carry on with that, and we will carry on with that in a moment, but that rumor, that speculation that the Nigerian state was looking to seize people's domiciliary account, it actually started from, that rumor was actually started by no less a figure than Ayo Fayoshe's brother, Isaac Fayoshe. That rumor actually started from this space. So if you've ever wondered how we suddenly got into the space that people's domiciliary account was being mentioned as a possibility to be harvested, that rumor actually started from this space. So let me take you to the source of that rumor, and then we get back to Yemi Cardoso to continue to expand on his thoughts. But the rumor of people's domiciliary accounts being attacked was started from this spot.
President Tinubu, you have to daju kala waika. My rearing. If you want dollar to come down, just come to Telly this week. Tell all of us we get domiciliary account. Say if you see more than $1,000 on private, you go seize them or you go auction them, replace them with Naira. You go tell banks we store, even Peter Obi will be your opponent. Peter Obi Bank stored over $1 trillion in dollar for their Fidelity Bank. And he go come out and say, oh, they are not running economy well. You are storing dollar in a country of Naira and you say economy go good. All of them, did you, that you want, even me, auction my money, my brother auction his own, is all the former governors.
All right. So that was where that rumor started. So just to document that, and then we get back to Yemi Cardoso.
Planning or not planning to do? What's the true state of things as far as domiciliary accounts concerned in the commercial banks?
Yes. Now, from what I can see, there's been a recent publication, an article that went around stating that the federal government had intentions of using the domiciliary account balances and converting them to Naira. As the governor of the central bank, I can tell you that nothing could be further than the truth. And let me just illustrate.
All right. So I've picked up twice now that Yemi Cardoso's English is not quite up to par. Nothing is can be further than the truth. He can't even say the word domiciliary. I'm not being finicky, but it's the level of education that we thought he had belies that somewhat. Nothing can be further from that than the truth. That's just that. That's not English. But that's me being pedantic. Let's carry on.
Illustrate this by saying the reforms that you have seen in the past months, which have obviously culminated in the Naira exchange becoming a little bit more, or becoming a little less volatile, and ultimately will be stable, has had to embrace market reforms we have spoken about earlier, and a situation where there's free entry and free exit. Attaching domiciliary accounts goes against the grain of that philosophy, okay? We're talking of liberalizing a market and encouraging foreign portfolio investors, foreign direct investors to come in and invest. Doing something like attaching the domiciliary account balances goes against the grain of that philosophy. And we certainly wouldn't do anything like that. So I want to assure you that there's absolutely no truth, as at no point in time has that ever come up for discussion, because we are very clear that that does not fall into the overall strategy and focus that we have as a central bank.
Now that you spoke about the strategy, and I want you to walk me through a bit of a short, medium to long-term strategies in terms of the focus in how to improve FX inflows and stabilize the value of the local currency itself.
Ultimately, a number of things are very important. And I think our focus has been to start looking very, very aggressively at the supply side of the chain. Okay, and some of the things we've done, for example, we have looked at the issue of the net open position of banks and are of the view that a good number of the banks have no business holding the foreign exchange that they have held. They have absolutely no business doing that, and for the quantum and the period they've held it for, and that certainly does not encourage a vibrant market. And for
all right. So if the banks have no business holding the foreign exchange for the quantum and the periods that they have held it for, are they going to be penalized for this? Is the thing. So is there a penalty to be applied? That's a question to be asked.
For that reason, we have asked them to sell their positions to customers with the hope that that will begin to enkindle supply into the market and be able to satisfy the demand of many businesses in the economy rather than holding on to it. Easily trading can take place in such a situation, in and out, rather than holding on to it. And of course, making gains, of an astronomical amount as and when the foreign exchange rate goes in an upward direction. The other thing that we have also done is the international money transfer, IMTOs. Up to this point in time, we know that a lot of activity has been undertaken by IMTOs. We know that. Everybody knows this. And sadly, we find a situation where very little of that has come through the official channels. Very little of it. It's all been done in various forms that do not advance the cause of an open market. And so for that reason, in conversation with them, we came up with certain rules and regulations which we believe would be positive in the direction of encouraging them to now come into the formal market to undertake their activities rather than doing it outside of
the official window and yes. The funds not coming into Nigeria,
exactly.
In manner of speaking, to support the economy.
Yes, very important. And to be fair, I think that the players in that sector understand that. Okay, and I am very positive that with the new framework that we have, we're going to see a very, very major mind shift in that. And don't forget that at this point in time, the difference between the official markets and the BDCs is relatively minimal. So there's really not much incentive for anybody to not but want to go through the official channels, and of course, not having to take any unnecessary risk in going through channels that may be less accountable for than what you as an entity is supposed to do. So we brought out new regulations for the IMTOs that we believe very strongly will help to increase the
supply side.
And of course, with that will come the reduction in volatility. It's also important to say that in all this, we believe that the markets must be very transparent. The rates must be out there. Everybody should know the rules of the game. That way, people don't get caught unawares. You see, I think that is another very, very critical message that we are sending out to the market. And we, in our own, as regulators, frankly, we are significantly improving and taking up their surveillance activities to ensure that the markets work the way they are meant to work and that all the players play by the rules. Okay.
So that's quite an important point that he's making there. He's talking about surveillance, and you can interpret that to mean monitoring. So all of these lofty and fanciful ideas are free-flowing the Naira, are forcing the banks to sell their deposit of dollars, which they're using to speculate on the Naira, forcing them to sell it, and are forcing a convergence between the parallel market and the official market. So all of that has no meaning unless, of course, there is a sufficient enough enforcement. So if enforcement is paramount, and enforcement is the monitoring is the harbinger of enforcement. So there has to be a robust and fit for purpose monitoring system to really hold to the letter of policy positions and put in very strong and stringent punitive measures for any flagration of policy positioning. All of this has to be in place before any of these policies can be fit for purpose. So yes, surveillance, he calls it, monitoring probably more better capture, but that goes to the heart of all of the reforms that on paper should work, but often instances within the Nigerian space in practice does not. So if any of these things are to work, there has to be heavy enforcement and really FBI-like monitoring of that space.
That there's hardly any room for, no room for any infractions and its compliance all the way. I think those may seem basic, but they are fundamental in our view to the proper functioning of any long-term foreign exchange market.
Interested when we stick with this, the FX, when it comes to the backlog of FX to clear, whether it's with the airlines or any other. What are your views on this? How are we working this up to ensure that there is a measure of confidence also in the market as far as the legacy issues are concerned?
When we came in into the leadership of the central bank a few months ago, the issue of foreign exchange backlog, the forward backlog, was something that we met when we came. Obviously, it was something that had been accumulated over a period of time. And we met that when we came in. And of course, it is very important as a sovereign nation to be able to keep your integrity intact, and as a bank to be able to show that we consider obligations as obligations that must be met. Now, approximately $7 billion approximately was what we're told that the obligations were. And we looked at these and commenced the process of starting to pay meager resources as we had them. We were settling some which we believed were valid and due for payment. And obviously, this isn't something we could just do in one shot, or it had to take a bit of time. Now, as we went along, we now had reason to believe that we needed to take a harder look at these obligations. And so we contracted Deloitte management consultants to do a forensic of all these obligations and to actually tell us what was valid and what was not. And of course, we were committed to ensuring that we would pay all valid transactions. And the result that came out of this was startling in a great respect. It was quite startling. We discovered that of the roughly seven, about 2.4 had issues, which we believed had no business being there. And the
all right. So that's a point landed on right there, Yemi Cardoso. Of the 7 odd billion naira that Nigeria was invoiced as a debt, the Nigerian state employed the services of Deloitte and Touche, which in itself is a problem. Do we not have sufficient enough of forensic accountants within the Nigerian space to handle our own affairs? But nevertheless, they employed the services of Deloitte and Touche. And what Deloitte and Touche reported back is that out of that $7 odd billion that Nigeria was invoiced for, $2.4 billion were fraudulent. That's exactly what is just said. $2.4 billion out of the 7-something odd billion dollars that Nigeria was invoiced for was fraudulent. So if that now has been established, there's an audit trail to where that invoicing came from. So why are people not being rounded up with Black Marias with handcuffs on their hands? Is really where the question is. Hassan, good to have you. Hassan, unmute. Hassan, are you there? Hassan, yeah. Are you there, Hassan?
Hello. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you vaguely, but I know you're coming in from Maiduguri. But yes, I take it you've watched this Cardoso interview and you have some thoughts on it. So share your thoughts on Cardoso.
Yes, I think, as you rightly stated, this is his first media parley. He has not been in the eye of the media since he assumed that position as governor of Central Bank. Now, a lot has been happening, especially around inflation and the kind of burden that Nigeria is facing, with its currency consistently being devalued. I think probably two things are of utmost importance in the way they want to reconfigure the Nigerian economy. One, I think, is in regard to industry removal of that subsidy, and the other one is
Hassan,
around floating the
you are
naira
breaking quite
in order.
carry on though. I think we can make it out,
Well,
but carry on.
my network is very poor as usual.
Oh, okay, carry on, carry on.
Okay.
We're enjoying you.
In regards to floating of the so in regards to the floating of the naira, I think that is the decision that Tinubu has the central bank, the NNPC funds, that Nigeria is selling, all the money for selling to come through the central bank. Now, they seem to be kind of confused as to the best way in which to revive the economy. The central bank governor has not taken much flack as he is supposed to. I think he has to show up to Parliament in the next couple of days. I think they invited him. Now he is trying to give a position, especially concerning the policies that he is implementing in the present central bank. There's a lot of jargon and economic register being used to give light to what is really happening. But I believe at the end of the day, what is happening is deliberate from the government. um you know if they want to curb this inflation, they have a simple way to do it. That is, they are not supposed to continue devaluing the naira. Do you know that what the government is doing is actually stealing from Nigerians, because all the deficit of the kind of value that the naira has lost in the past year, accrues to federal government. When Buhari left office, they were sharing around 600 to 700 um, billion naira, every month in the FAC accounts. Now we're talking of something in the excess of 1 trillion naira. They made so much money that they didn't even they have stopped even sharing everything. So most governors have a doubling of their income that is coming in. Now the government is trying to generate wealth that it can also use to implement things in Nigeria. Because of the nature of our democracy, the hard thing to do is the most unpopular thing. If Tinubu decides to give a free hand and try to curb the downward spiral of the naira, that will mean there will be no funds available for him, to run capital projects and things like that. And that will mean that at the end of his tenure, there won't be a lot of things to point out and say this is what we have achieved, especially in things like capital projects and so on. Now, because of the nature of our democracy, these decisions that we are supposed to be take that will be hard, very hard, and the government will not have much income, but our position will be better, say, in the next 3 or 4 years. The government is choosing to take the easy way out and actually continue generating revenue, so that they will do the things that they will do, and then they will have something to point out to say, okay, in the past years. Consequences of this is that businesses are going
All
under.
right.
Everybody is suffering.
Hassan, Hassan, you're breaking up somewhat, but I think we get
Yes,
the thrust of what you're saying. I have to say, I agree with you
yes.
40%, but I disagree with you 60%. But before I go to where I agree or disagree with you, let's hear from
Mm.
Alexander Gomez, who doesn't really spend much time. So let's touch base with Alexander, and then I'll come back to agree and disagree with you. Good to see you, Alexander.
All the monetary and economic policies that the president has taken with his team has been a total disaster so far. I'm not impressed with what Cardoso is doing. It looks like the job might be too big for him. The country's getting worse by the day. The naira's free falling. Everything is expensive. People are suffering. I don't know. This government has thus far been a failure, in my opinion, and something drastic needs to be done. I don't know what they can do anymore. I think they've done everything they can. I think the country's just totally and absolutely bankrupt. They keep on loaning money to pay off debts and things like that. I don't understand that kind of economic policy. So that's my position on that, one man.
All right, brilliant. So I have to say I read the situation somewhat differently. When they are saying they are free floating the economy, which is essentially what they're doing by floating the currency, what they are doing is to surrender that currency and that economic space to market forces. And this is probably one of the most unique experimentation with an economy that has ever been experienced globally. So what they have done, because they're saying free inflow and free outflow. So what they want to do is to create an economic space where international money can converge and battle it out for where the profit margin is. So if you have that international money coming in the manner that this policy anticipates, the pressure of that demand and supply and the activity of that international money within that economic space will establish that equilibrium that will give us the true value of the naira. So I think that's the broad strokes of where they're trying to get to. But I think maybe some poor decisions may have been made along the way, and I think more to it, they've not been as firm as they should be in terms of the push towards that policy implementation. But you can see the pathway to where they're going. I don't agree with Hassan that they're just harvesting money to repoint to projects. And of course, yes, but I do agree with Hassan that a lot of this spike in the currency actually ultimately goes into the government coffers. But the value of that excess that they're harvesting is still going to translate into its dollar value. So I'm not quite sure if the volume actually matches the worth. But that's just sort of broadly how I see it, Hassan.
Yes, I agree with you to some extent. What I don't seem to agree with the government is the fact that that policy of floating the naira has a very, very bad timing. This is at the same time, the country's economy is in tatters. We already have, debt that runs in trillions and trillions of naira. In fact, all the revenue that Nigeria generates actually goes to servicing those, loans. So it is a quagmire, really. It is a quagmire, really. But what I think the government is supposed to do, or they should have done, is that they should find a way, to lessen the blow of this free fall of naira, so that at least people will have some level of stability and have value for money. The government has refused to increase the minimum wage, yet everything is quadrupling in price. That has serious consequences for the common man. Now, from their perspective as the government, they don't seem to care about how people are suffering and all that. And I don't think it's even a bad thing, to subsidize a critical aspect of the economy, as ensuring that the naira, does well against the dollar. But they are not taking that approach, and it is hurting us badly. It's hurting us badly. There is no developing country, that does not subsidize things for their citizens. Even in the UK, the government pays some subsidies. I mean, even in Germany, government still pay some subsidies because in the last 2 years, because of Corona and a lot of things that has happened, even the developed economies, try to lessen the blow of the economic downturn. Trump, gave all Americans some blank check, some checks to help them, with the free falling of the American economy as a result of COVID. Even in Europe, a lot of the governments there, because of the war in Ukraine and the downturn of their economy, would they have done one thing or the other in critical areas to ensure that people do not suffer. Now, my problem is with our own government. There is this disconnect. I think a cold-hearted callousness towards the suffering of the common man. As long as what they are doing does not affect them or the so-called elite class of Nigeria, nobody seems to talk on behalf of the masses. And Nigerians are all taking these things lying down. And that you cannot help but think about, this stagnation that we have had for decades. That idea of suffering and smiling that fella put eloquently, has become a prophetic, timeless reality for all of the people of Nigeria, and that has to change. Really, I don't think any government that is worth its salt, will not do absolutely what it's supposed to do, to ensure that its citizens are at least doing well or scraping by. The fundamental, role of government is to provide security and and ensure its citizens, their welfare is being taken care of. Why should our own case be different? Why should our own case be different? Our case is different because there are only two sets of Nigerians: the elites, who always look after their interests at the detriment of, the poor Nigerians. One more thing, one man. Let me say one more thing. You see, there is this approach too that is actually killing our economy. A lot of monies that we borrow from IMF and the World Bank, it has very negative consequences on our economy. Now, I don't know why our government does not seem to care, and they continue getting these policies too that the government is implementing. Just by looking at it, that this policy is a Western suggested, policy to put Nigeria in a position where they can actually get the maximum amount of resources and benefits out of the Nigerian economy. It may not seem that way for a lot of people to decipher, but in reality, that is what is happening on the ground. And I think the government must do something and look at this thing critically to ensure that everything goes well.
All right. I'm going to play you a clip, Hassan, and then I'm going to respond to about two of the things that you said. We'll hear from Kulata, and then we get back to Yemi Cardoso. But you said earlier that there's somewhat of a docility to the way that the people are responding to Tinubu's administering the country. So that docility is about to turn, and it looks as though that turning is coming from the north. So Hassan, watch this. So Hassan, that was a peaceful protest in Niger State. It was a peaceful protest, but as you can see from the banner, the protest is about nothing else other than the hardship that is being vested on the people, and they cannot bear it anymore. So that's the one thing. So the people are reacting, and then the other thing is that um Tinubu's decisions are usually data led. So I don't buy into this idea that we are following diktats from World Bank, Central Space, Western Space, essentially. Tinubu often instances makes decisions on pure science, which often instances is data led. And I don't also buy into the idea that governance is inured to the suffering of the people. The government is actually very much invested and aware of the suffering of the people, but because all of the modelings that they've been able to see points to a certain direction of travel that will pull the country out of the mires and put it towards an upward trajectory, they are sticking with that plan and trying to insulate that pain period. But where I feel they should have intervened is to allow for vast importation of food to crash the cost of food. And then with this upstreaming of these now refineries, crash the cost of transportation, because if they can crash those two spaces, the people will be able to absorb the changes that is gravitating them towards where the country wants to go. But Hassan, let's hear from Kulata, who joins us. Kulata, unmute.
Hey, one man. I just logged in. I don't know what you guys. I have no clue what you guys are talking about.
Oh, Yemi Cardoso is making his first media appearance. He's trying to talk us through just exactly what is going on within the economy. Hassan disagrees somewhat, but we're looking at the
Oh, okay. I watched that interview this when I woke up this morning on
oh,
Arise, right?
oh yes, on the right. So give us your feel of it.
Well, I mean, I think what I got out of it was the backlog is not really $7 billion because there's like $2.4 billion worth of Emefiele laden request for dollars in there. So the good news is we only have 2.2 or something $billion left to clear in the backlog. The rest of the 2.4, they're controversial. They're not. I mean, Deloitte audited it and found out that a lot of the requests were illegal. So they'll soon be able to clear the backlog. And I think, like I said before, all this monetary policy, if we don't fix inflation, we're joking. So to fix inflation, I mean, as soon as they clear the backlog, we may start getting some liquidity due to the NMPC accounts that's now plugged into CBN, and also we may start getting some liquidity due to some of the new circulars that was written, so diaspora money can come into the country
And
this time around.
also forcing open the hard currency vaults of these commercial banks, which
Yeah,
he was quite angry about, that these people have been hoarding all this money and profiting astronomically off the spike in the naira. So he's forcing open their vault, but he
yeah.
says they're going to be monitoring. There has to be sufficient enough punitive measures to this particular policy in order to force the immediacy of it, because apparently there's about 30 billion locked in those vaults of these 419 banks.
No, the 30 billion is different. That's 30 billion in DOM accounts. That's individual deposits. The banks get dollars and put it on long positions. So by the time they're essentially betting against the naira. So they make all these wild profits because the naira is going to fall. I mean, we know the naira is going to fall because they're number one, they're holding on to the naira. They're not giving it to their customers to trade or to do whatever. They just sit on it and then cash out. So you see them declaring all these profits. So this move by Cardoso is going to impact bank profits because now you have to. I think they have 20% that they can keep for short positions, but 0% that they can keep for long position. So that, I mean, forces some liquidity into the market. And then that window of trade, the 2% plus or minus 2% window of trade that he eliminated, that will allow the banks to trade just like the PDCs. And so you and I that send money back home, that money, the dollar will most likely make it to Nigeria rather than the way the banks will kind of hold it, send naira. That's not going to happen anymore. So all that, they're positive steps, but it's still going to take some time. Like the
But
economy
it
thing.
shouldn't take time though, if they because these are immediate. Oh, Asan, did you want to come in?
Yes. One thing that I'm also not happy about, is the interest rates that keep going up and up and up and up and up. And the government is not doing anything, to assuage that interest rates. And the example for factoring in interest rates in the minimum wage that the government is implementing. The government has got it totally wrong. The value of the naira kept crashing, yet people are still getting paid salaries that are not consistent with our economic reality. Even in Europe, when they were having a lot of problems with inflation and high interest rates in the past couple of years, they factored that into the minimum wage that they pay. They have a formula. So when interest rates are high, it's not as if you are getting, say, a salary of £2,000 or dollars, and then when interest rates go high, the government factors
Do,
that
do you mean
percentage and
inflation
then
rate,
pay you.
Hassan?
Yes,
Do you mean
yes, yes.
inflation rate?
Inflation rate. Yes, inflation rate. There is a connection between inflation and interest rates. So it's like
Now, I'm going to talk about
both
that
sides of the same coin.
because the
Yes. So
inflation
so
for us
in
to
our
contain,
case, that is not happening.
no, I mean, we have kind of like two main drivers of our inflation. The food inflation, which is due to low productivity in our farms and also maybe some misguided policies. Number two is the excessive money that has been printed under Buhari's ways and means. So we have to attack it in two ways. You definitely have to increase your interest rate. In the next MPC, Cardoso has no choice but to increase the interest rate. The next thing they should do is, um, I mean, I'll be forced to say it. I think one man alluded to it. In the short term, you can allow importation of food because if they're not going to fix insecurity, then people have to eat. So if you can't fix insecurity and you can't get things out of the farms quickly, then for Christ's sakes, bring food into the country. So food prices will crash. But that creates another problem. But this solves the immediate prices of food issue. But we cannot continue to have skyrocket inflation going. If we don't fix inflation, people don't trust the naira. The naira it's not a good store of value. If I can't save, what's the use of the naira? So you need to jack up interest rate, clear up excessive liquidity through open market operations, and attract investors to be able to buy our treasury bills or our bonds or whatever, because they'll get good returns. Right now, it's like a negative yield. So why would I take my money to go and lose money in Nigeria? Why would I want to save as a Nigerian when I know my money, at the end of the year, 30% of it will be gone? Why would I take dollars to bring to Nigeria when be making minus returns? It doesn't make any sense. So you have to increase interest rates. You just have to. Now, if we don't attack inflation, we're not going anywhere. Because even without trading anything, without doing anything, the inflation relative to other currencies is high. So without even touching a button, Naira is losing value to the dollar at like dollar inflation here is maybe like 2-3%. Naira is close to 30%. So we're like by not even lifting a finger, 27% is losing it by not even trading. So it doesn't make sense. People will always be chasing dollar if Naira doesn't have a decent inflation rate, something at least in the teens, if possible less than 10. But I don't think that's possible. But maybe something 11-12%. So there's nothing the government can do. We have high unemployment, high inflation, high inflation, and then we're going to have high interest rate. That's like a double whammy. I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
About technicalities of the. Okay, a lot of people have been utilizing of. Hello, can you hear me now?
You're breaking. It's choppy.
It's a bit grainy, but it's joining us from Maiduguri. So yeah, carry on as best you can.
Is of all things that are wrong and all that. Why is it that people are not talking about? Most people don't want to even talk about the minimum wage and how dire the economic situation is in Nigeria.
They're talking about, I believe,
for the sake of its citizens.
Yeah, but they're talking about the minimum
to do
wage,
something
right?
on inflation. Why minimum wage? Yes. So why is it that up till now the government has been dilly-dallying and has not agreed to at least increase minimum?
All right. Let me add on to that, Kulata, before you take it on. So Hassan is saying, why is the minimum wage not reflective of the skyrocketing inflation, so that the value then of the wage does not match the market anymore? So he's now asking that the minimum wage be commensurate with market prices of where people spend their money. But I add on to that if they double or even quadruple, which is really what they should do, the minimum wage, would that not even spike up inflation even more? Because if there's even that much more money chasing these goods, then that by extension will skyrocket inflation. Is it not really attacking where people spend their money and tried to affect those price points? Is that not more the task rather than increasing wages, Kulata?
Yeah, you're right. There's some inflationary push when you increase minimum wage. It has some inflationary push in there. It also depends, because at this point in time, there's so much disparity between where the naira is and what people earn. But the problem is, our minimum wage, I believe you just can't change it willy-nilly. There's a time, there's a set time where they review minimum wage. So I believe they're already discussing it, and it may be due to be revised this year. There's something about it. I'm not in front of my computer or anything to check, but I think there's something about minimum wage where you revise it. There's a frequency that you use to revise it. So I believe they're already meeting to revise it. But the biggest push is, if we flood the market with food, people want to eat. If we flood the market with food, right, a lot of even this minimum wage pressure will reduce. So I don't see our agricultural minister doing much. And at the same time, I don't see our trade and commerce minister doing much, because you need to attack this availability of food by a massive, securing farms, getting people to farms, importing food. I cower now because I was against it before. But at this point in time, you need to open the borders.
Kulata, can they just not import for a farming cycle? So let's say a farming cycle is 3 months, 6 months. then they facilitate for importation to insulate a farming cycle. And then as that farming cycle comes to fruition, then they just remove that, just, to cushion that pain period.
I think they should do it maybe for 3 years or 4, because I mean, farming cycle or no farming cycle, our insecurity issues are not going to get solved in the next farming cycle. So how about you allow food to come in? Because if we substitute PMS that we're importing, which is 28% of our dollar imports, if we eliminate that 28%, or let's just say we reduce that 28% to 15%, we can import food with 5% and still have another another 7 or 8% to do other things, because food importation is not expensive. It doesn't require too much forex, and we can also leverage the relative stability of Benin Republic CFA. CFA's inflation rate is 1.5% in Benin. We can leverage their ports to bring food in. Because I mean, it's something that needs to be looked at, and don't do it for one cycle, because insecurity is not getting fixed. Do it for 3-4 years until we have a clear path. Because if you look at all that stuff Tinubu wrote in his manifesto, that they're going to set up all these agricultural, that thing that Awolowo did, do you see any inkling? Yes, silos and all those things, and commodity boards. Do you see this government close to even discussing it? I'm not even talking about even setting some sample up to even talk about it. No. So we need to ramp up the substitution of imported PMS with what we produce locally, and then use that money to import food. Do it for 3 years. By that time, maybe all refineries will be working, and it's not going to be. We'll have a net positive net dollar balance, because no matter how much food we import, it will not reach the substitution we're going to substitute for the PMS. So people need to eat.
All right, let's get back to Cardoso, see what else he has to say, and then we pick it up from there.
Fractions on that range from so many things. For example, not having valid import documents, and in some cases, even entities that did not exist. And in some cases, beneficiaries, account parties who had asked for foreign exchange and got more than they asked for, and some who didn't even ask for any and got. So there were a whole load of infractions there, which, as I said, amounted to.
So why are people not criminally being prosecuted for this is the question.
About 2.4.
Out of the $7 billion US dollars, the headline figure.
Yes.
So how are you dealing with that?
Well, we're not paying. If you don't qualify, they are not a validly constituted request. We are not. And of the validly constituted ones, we have settled about $2.3 billion. And that applies to the airlines and a whole load of different entities spread throughout our economy. We've settled that already. Okay. And then now what remains is about 2.2. That's about what remains now to be settled. And I'm confident that we will shortly be addressing those and be able to move on and make progress. Now, obviously,
sorry, those are airline remittances. Is a space that they need to put a stethoscope on as well, because there seems to be some sort of excessive goings on within that space. So they can't just invoice and you pay. They need to look at the pricing point and those invoices as well.
Because you asked a question with respect to how are we dealing with those that were not valid. Yes. You asked that question. We wrote to as they were identified, we wrote to the authorized dealers to come in and explain what the situation was and where the conclusions were differed. And sadly, quite frankly, I think much of those have not been disputed to satisfaction. No.
Interesting. So, dealing with the FX issue in terms of supply, and this begin to how you begin to clear up the about $2.2 billion remaining. What will the calendar look like down the line? Is there an idea?
Yes.
Of what to expect?
Yes. I think, as I said, I think that will be something that will be done very shortly. Very shortly. Now, you can imagine that having 2.2 outstanding and 7 outstanding are not the same thing.
Not the same figure.
No, they are not the same figure. So I think we're at the end of this, to be honest, to put it to you that way. We will clear all that very shortly, and we'll move on, on to the next line of action. So I'm not concerned that the backlog will continue to be an overhang. I think we've come to the end of that road.
So you're dealing with the IMTOs, we're dealing with the airlines and a few others. And the next point is again about how does all of this come together in terms of what you are doing at the central bank as part of the overall objective of moving the economy forward, in stabilizing the economy, as it were, considering legacy issues and what we're dealing with at the moment. How does that fit together into what you expect to see from the fiscal authorities?
I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that the monetary side can't do it on its own. Both the monetary and the fiscal side must collaborate. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And both must understand what each other is doing and how they interrelate. And quite frankly, I think that given the relatively challenging times that Nigeria is in now from the financial economic standpoint, the different stakeholders within government understand that collaboration is key. And we have regular meetings, we exchange views and ideas and ensure that we're
all right. Okay, we'll probably look to start to wrap it up here. I think a lot of you would have watched the fullness of this. But what struck me was that he said when they were inviting people to come and back up their claims for this $2.4 billion, nobody turned up. So that's quite shocking, actually. Nobody turned up, but then there should be an audit trail to where where those claims came from. Imagine if the country had gone on to honor that $2.4 billion, that's yet another $2.4 billion stolen from us. So there has to be an audit trail to wherever those $2.4 billion came from, and whoever is underpinning that claim to either come and justify it or go and spend our time in Kuje facility. Let's start to bring it home, and let's start to bring it home with Dewale who joins us. So Dewale, I suspect that you've watched this Cardoso interview. What's your take then on what is hard to say, and should he be doing more of this? I think this is his first public outing at the CBN Governor Yemi Cardoso.
Good morning, one man, and good afternoon, everywhere across the group. You hear me, one man?
Yeah, perfectly. Carry on.
Yes, I joined the your broadcast right towards the tail of it. Actually, I must confess I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the interview, but I was kind of interested in your analysis based on the clips you've watched in the past, and I heard Collector talking about the raising minimum wage and the impact on the inflation and how it can affect inflation and all that. But I'm glad he's speaking out. But I think the CBN need to do more. just a brief one that you just played. It's curious that the backlog of that for the what do you call them? You said 2 billion for the airline the payment. I believe
No,
the
no, there's
government
about
saw
7 point something billion in debt
some point something.
that the governor is looking to honor. But then they had a forensic examination of that 7 point something billion, and 2.4 billion out of that is somewhat illegitimate. So I'm saying that not honoring that illegitimate 2.4 billion is not enough. There should be prosecution against whoever is invoicing the state for that money.
That is true. But you also have to understand that this is a terrain that is more, connected to, political influence and all that. Will he have the political wherewithal to actually prosecute? Because how the way that system is set up, most of the beneficiary probably will be the accolades of the politicians. So I don't know if he'll be able to have the political um, stamina to be able to prosecute. But it actually speaks volume that when they are called upon, nobody shows up. It's kind of curious, to see that happening. To me, I don't know. It's everything smells fishy, but we'll see. We'll see. I need to watch the clip to be able to know more. Some of the things that he spoke about, and yes, the person that actually conducted the interview is a very great guy. He was being in Chinese television news before, but I think I need to watch one of the interview more to be able to have more in-depth, analysis of some of the things that he spoke about. But
Oh, oh,
good job on that.
all right, brilliant. Go watch it. I will recommend it. We'll probably touch on it tonight as well.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Babati, who joins us. So BT, to the Cardoso interview.
Yeah, insurance. Good morning, guys. Diwali Bawani, Otojo Meta.
Ojago pẹ̀lú bàbá.
Kulata Baba, how you doing, man? And I don't know what this name
Hey.
is. Yeah. Man.
Hassan as well, Hassan.
Hassan as well. Man, hope you're feeling better this morning. To the CBN issue, like I watched some part of it on my way to work. But the question I wanted, because they said they were fraudulent. People have been submitting fraudulent claims. So I don't know how that system works really, where people have to submit to get paid. So half of the payments are for okay, if you can clarify that with me, because I heard the part where it said people are submitting fraudulent claims to get dollars. So I didn't really understand that part.
Like say you have they'll help you open LC or something. You're supposed to import something.
Right.
But a lot of what they're saying is fake. There's meaning nothing backs up the documents that will have opened, because you go open LC, they give you Form M or whatever, and help you back up your transaction, your trading transaction. But according to Cardoso, a lot of those documentation did not exist. Some people even got dollar allocation with no request, meaning they didn't even request. So from the fake trades to no request to everything, there's a lot of people that needs to be arrested in CBN itself. It should look inwards to arrest people.
Wow. Okay. And also, I heard the last time you were talking about the some bureau de change were closing down in Abuja, and it was due to they didn't have enough dollars to supply. So do you believe everything should go through the CBN from now on, or do we still have a parallel market?
Banks are the parallel markets now.
Okay, that's the new. Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's not like bureau de change exists, but banks are allowed to trade just like the parallel market now. I mean, they will trade like the parallel market now, because now the circular has kind of like decent. Anytime I try to pronounce this word, I always mess up. The circular is not allowing them to just sit on dollars. and wait for Naira to lose value and then declare profit. Now they have to use the dollar that they receive to give to clients to trade to buy. So if I go to the bank, I want to buy dollar. Banks are allowed to say, okay, oh, now this market rate I go sell them to you, and you say yes, and that's the deal. So now you will see that there's now parity between the BDCs and the banks, just like if we used to have it, I think at some point during Sanusi time. So there's no this is $800 rate, and this one is this with the banks. Banks will trade it for you 1,000 whatever. So now the BDCs, I mean, is kind of like giving the BDCs trouble. So let's see if there's additional loopholes that they need to kind of like block, because I'm sure these guys are smart.
At this point, can we need to find a different word from the word loophole? This is like an established racketeering, like there's a well-established. This thing is going on for decades. The way they're uncovering many things. It's like they've had this established structure to milk the system for so long. And it's like you cover one loophole and you have like 20 loopholes already waiting for you to jump into. You see my point? So
yeah.
It's man, oh, wow, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, I mean, that's how many people make money in Nigeria, but you don't see them having any businesses. So it's all these privileges, like too much rent seeking in this our economy, and the more they unbundle it, that's when we're going to see progress. But they're going to fight back. But we just want to see how that fight back is going to look like.
Yeah. Hopefully they do. And also, one man I was reading about the EFCC chairman talking about how through the banks again, some religious organizations are moving funds. I think he mentioned 7 billion naira that they actually invited one of the sect leaders in the north to come up for questioning, and that individual went to court. And surprisingly, the court stopped them from even questioning him at all. So the banking and I think they're tied somehow within that system itself. So while we resolve the economic problem within CBN, also look at the terrorism aspect as well. How people have been using the CBN to launder money for terrorist organizations. So it's a lot to uncover.
Babati, I think we need at least 2-3 scapegoats in those two sectors. In the terrorism sector and the financial crime sector, we need at least 2 or 3 untouchables to be brought to book in order to start sanitizing those spaces.
Hey, can I intervene? Let me ask you later something.
Yeah, carry on. But we're in the process of wrapping up. But carry on.
Yeah, I just want to ask you. I just joined. Good morning, everybody. Great, everybody. Kulata, what do you think about a short gap measure right now? This is just temporary, maybe for a few months. Like just dollarize everything in Nigeria so we can have enough dollar. Then there won't be more shortage. Then the long time, go, if I may ask, because in South Africa and some other places, they don't use dollar, make it illegal to trade in dollar in Nigeria, to do any kind of dollar transaction. That's for the long time. What do you think about that?
That's a shocking one. I don't even know how to think about it. So if you dollarize the economy for a short term,
yeah,
it's gonna. I don't know how that's gonna work.
No. He wants to do the guy for what's that? Latino Trump.
Argentina.
Yeah, what is
Argentina.
it? No, you can't. No. Come on, man.
I'm just saying for a short gap. I don't know, but anyway.
No, but what that guy wants to do was to actually dump the peso and just use dollar. But that means you are going to be at the whims and caprices of United States Federal Reserve. So now the problem is on the short term, where is everybody going to get? I mean, are we going to put Naira aside in this short term, or you're going to allow both of them stay side by side?
All right, you guys carry on the conversation amongst yourself for a moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a thought, I don't know, because the problem we're having, they are hoarding all the whole dollars right now.
No, Prestige. The issue is that there are laws that's against that. The problem was enforcement. We have laws against spending, right? If I'm right, there are laws against spending the dollar or transaction in dollars in Nigeria. The issue is not that there's no law. The issue is that there was no implementation or enforcement of those laws. So even universities are. I mean, I know there's some private schools, secondary schools that I send money in dollars, and they pay school fees at secondary schools, that level. So I know that for a fact. So there's no enforcement is the problem.
We need to wait away from this dollar, in Nigeria. It's just a short that measure. I'm not thinking. I'm not an economist, like Kulak and some other people, But it's just a thought. But for the long time, we need to get away from using dollars, in Nigeria. I mean, dollars shouldn't
Well,
be.
if our currency is stable, not exchange rate, though, the inflation, if it's low, people will not mind holding naira. But I don't want to hold naira and then before saying Jack Robinson, I've already lost a significant value of naira. Because I spoke to my friend, she takes her salary, takes like 10% of her salary, keeps it in naira. The rest of it, she just goes and converts it into dollar. And she's been doing it for years. So she only needs maybe 400K or something just to manage her expense in the month. The rest goes to dollar. And there are a lot of people that do that. And not to even talk about that's someone earning good salary. We're not even talking about politicians that are stealing naira.
But
all of them.
But would you blame the average Nigerian for doing that? Would you blame them for doing that?
No, that's why I said we need to fix our inflation. I don't blame them because your currency is useless. If we don't fix the inflation, why? I mean, if there was no high inflation, then I can save in naira, I can hold naira. But without that, there's no incentive for me to hold naira. Like someone telling you, "Oh, Babati, come and invest in this stuff in naira. It's going to give you 20% return." And you're like, "Oh, fantastic!" But you now look at what's the inflation rate?
That's what I was. That's what I was even going to ask you because I know we talked about this hibiscus business that you wanted to do in Nigeria or you were involved in, and I know inflation at that level sometimes it helps. If you're exporting, it helps in a way. I mean,
it depends because if you do it fully, they will pay you back. CBN will hold your money, and they will give you useless naira rate. So people are sidestepping that by opening companies in tax-free countries, and then you use. Why am I saying this in the public space? Are we public? I can't talk about what see.
Okay, I get your point, but what I'm saying is that for that hibiscus things, for instance, where except you are buying from outside to run that business, if what you're using to produce is mostly locally made and you're trading in that currency, of course, then if that number is going up, you're still good. If they're paying you back in dollars, if you have like an account somewhere, okay, this is probably let's move on, guy.
Let's move on. I almost said something I shouldn't have said.
I get your point. I get you. Yeah. Do it. I get what you're saying. But that's the way you sidestep that. But Nigeria it's an import dependent economy, so it's very hard to. But if you're exporting, you are good right now. I mean, you're okay.
If you're exporting, you're good right now. As long as you know how to hedge your risk, you're very good. So there are few. I mean, actually, it's the Indians and the Chinese people that I see that are exporting mostly in Nigeria. There are Nigerian players there, but not as big as the Indians and the Chinese. So they're enjoying these naira rates to the max. While all of us are complaining, they are happy. And if you go to your state, you will see evidence, proof of it, lined up on the both sides of the Lagos Battle.
But Kulata, don't you think another problem we're having? Almost about 70 to 80, I don't know the right percentage of our export, our unfinished product. I mean, particularly our oil.
Yep, you're right. You're totally right. I mean, that's what Okonjo-Iweala is talking about. I've talked about it too many times. Like, it just doesn't make sense if we don't add value to whatever we're
All
And
right.
by the way, Kolata, are you? Because I've never seen you as you were very emotional, very passionate the last time you were speaking about the security issue in Ekiti. And I know that might affect your own business. So how are you feeling today now? You feel better, or you still?
No, I mean, it was just a one-time thing for me to
No, no, it's fine. No,
con-
no, 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 that was okay. I mean, but I've never heard you that way before on the platform. Yeah.
because I mean, you look at it like this is my backyard,
Oh, it's very
right?
close to you. Very close to
Not
you.
that close per se, but it's a state away.
Right, right.
So you just look at like I mean, this is
So Kulata, that's why I went ballistic. I was cursing online that I never had you spoke like that before. You got
you
so
will never hear me speak
you
like
got
that anymore.
you got so emotional. But I mean, anyway, we are all emotional sometimes. Yeah, I've
I
never
was
had you
thinking
like
more of like oh, something. That's what I was thinking, but that's not.
No, no, no. It's just like the situation. Sometimes, I mean, you know everything that's going to happen. I mean, a lot of what is happening now, I think like 6 months ago, I already said this is how things are going to go. But sometimes you just can't live through it. It's frustrating living through it, even though you know it's inevitable. But the security one is like, come on now, like three different royal fathers in the space of 4 days in the same area. Three.
but
And
That's ridiculous.
the kids are back, right?
we are still here
Yeah,
discussing.
the kids are back. Yeah.
And we're still here discussing if we need state police or community police at this point. We are still discussing that. That's the discussion. We should be talking about arming citizens and everybody should have a weapon or something, or
It,
finding a way around that.
it's a foregone discussion that we'll be having this kind of silly whether I mean, we definitely need it because even not for the local guys, they will not have caught, I mean, arrested some of these guys. It was the combination of OPC, Amotekun, and the Nigerian police and military that worked together. So there was local intelligence involved. So why will you now tell us not to have local police? Doesn't make any sense.
So, Claude, I've not read anything. I've not really read much about that. I mean, the people that did this, are they really? Is that local people that kidnapping or just
No, no.
these Fulani herdsmen?
It's the herdsmen people.
Oh, okay.
It's the herdsmen people.
So, but even the forest though, like having forest guards, and like I was even reading about other countries, like in those forests, they will have like, all these roads within the forest, just for security, like for their rangers to map out, use drones, use whatever. If you are not living in the city, you have no right to live in people's the forest zones. They should be marked out, right? You have no right to leave to just stay there and say because you're in Nigeria you can live anywhere. No, we are excluding the forest. So until we can enforce those laws and make sure people just don't hang around
But
committing crimes.
T,
Yeah.
why does it feel so weird that I'm kind of like out of loop of what you guys are talking about? I'm aware of the killing in Ekiti State, but
Adugbo now. About Adugbo. I didn't know.
it seems I'm out of loop when Kulata was talking and the man of procedure too was chiming, and I was like, "What is going on? What are these people talking about?"
I think I lost my shit. That's what happened.
You lost your what?
it got really intense. That we were having I think what triggered Kulata was we were having this back and forth about the Fulani thing, invasion, the terrorist attack. I think it was Mike. Mike came up and said, "Well,
Well, Joel, Mike said that the night before.
how?"
I wasn't there, but Joel now came
Yeah,
out and started talking about things that are not necessary.
we told you so.
Yeah,
Yeah. And he just went off like.
was trying to rub it in, and I just went off on him.
Well, it was that whataboutism in a lot of Nigerians during
Oh,
the
okay.
time, which was unnecessary.
Because I was thinking that is there any other situation apart from that killings and kidnapping in Ekiti that I'm not aware of? I know I've not been joining the show lately, but it seems everybody has been losing their stuff too on the show. Because when I listen to the rounds, like everybody just cursing each other's out, just one rowdy session or the other.
These are tough times.
Well,
Yeah.
but Coletta, one of these days, if you want to host a business meeting that we would like to listen to, I mean, we know we have security challenges, of course, but some of us are interested in what I'm
Yeah,
peeping.
Oh,
yeah, Kulaka, please. We need that, I mean, I have some business, but it's mostly in the hotel management area. But, if you want to hold some business meeting, I would like your input, because you have a very
No,
global idea.
Yeah, we've
Preston,
all been asking Kulata, but it's playing hard to get. I
you
think
know.
I've had less resistance from a supermodel than we are getting from Kulata.
Because one man, I always tell people like they say, "Oh, we have problem with red tape." But I'm like, have you joined your chamber of commerce in the area in your state? That will save you a lot of trouble. Like they help you out a lot. So, but I just want to know, what Clota is, because I know we've talked about. There was a day we talked about on your channel. We had a little different session about manufacturing, and I was just showing you some few things. So,
But you are in no position to talk, Babati.
eh,
You've been putting together a session for the last 12 months. I'm not quite sure when it will ever happen.
let's stay on Clota case for now.
my case is very. I mean, because of work, right? There's some things I just can't delve into publicly.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's that. But from a Niger perspective, that's not like. I mean, that one is not has nothing to do with work. So from a Niger perspective, we can talk about that. At least what I know, what I understand, what I saw, and some opportunities that people are tapping into, and the way to kind of like edge against losing your money due to currency stuff. At least before they block that loophole.
Yeah, Kulaka,
So
that'd be great. We're only talking about Nigerian perspective, where it be feasible, economical wise, business wise. Yeah, it's not only about Nigerian, perspective.
So it's the things. I mean, those Asian people in Nigeria, they're making money. That's the only thing I can say. And what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing fellow Southwesterners leasing their land, or even building factories. No, I mean, I won't say factories, maybe storage houses, and those guys just loaded up with cocoa, with this, with that, and they're making a killing all over Ikeja now. If you see any place that's a factory, it's probably being built by a Chinese or an Indian for the most cases, and Ogun State. But ours own is church. I'm not going to dwell on that because that's neither here nor there. Now, the fact that you're now having train service directly from Lagos to the north is a game changer, because a lot of product that most people are interested in buying is in the north. And companies like SGS that are normally in Apapa have now moved to the north because they have the dry port in Kaduna. So you can go and buy your stuff there. They do the quality checks, the SGS, and from there it goes to your ultimate client. You don't have to go to any port in Lagos. You don't have to do anything like that, because that's the goal. So it's making things easier. So now that we now even have rail that probably will be doing multimodal in the next 1 year or two, the opportunity is going to expand way, way more than before. Because before, if you take stuff to Lagos port, you use all this truck, it will get stuck in this place or the other. Eventually, it will get to the WAF area, and then they will inspect it, and then they will reject it and say it doesn't meet any quality check. And then you'll have Shylock people that will be there to buy it off your hands, to just buy it off your hand, and of course, they will have their own way to get it out of the country. So now you can, at least if you do it closer to the source, you can take care of it in the source, because a lot of the issues is sometimes if they say 50 kilogram of something, you have to inspect it. If you buy it in the bush, you have to inspect it. But if you buy it in
There's a testing lab. No, there's a testing lab close to the airport in Ogun State, the one they're about almost done with, that will test, that has all the lab that You know, you take
SGS is the company that does that.
Yeah. You're supposed to have one close to your port to test before you for you to make the standard
So
of
for you
weight.
to make it, yeah, but for you to reduce the risk, because if you're going to buy cheap stuff, you have to go and bag it yourself. Or if they let them, you have to be there to bag it, and then you expose yourself to insecurity. The one that are bagged are probably sold in Kano. Then you have to pay the premium. So it depends on the kind of ultimate contract you get. And then the big issue is payment coming back into Nigeria. You don't want it getting stuck with the exchange rate situation. That's where you have to do one thing or the other that I can't talk about. So that aspect is, I think that's what kind of drove me the first time I tried to do it, because I did not know about what others are doing. Or maybe if you're too patriotic, you probably won't want to do what others are doing.
So what we should blame Clinton for the hike in the naira. It's part of the problem.
Don't worry, we'll be sending it to Cardoso and go for LA.
No, it is legal. It's totally legal. Let me explain.
No. Okay, where is the ethics in it? Forget legality.
It's ethical too. Babati, okay. Let me describe something. You have a company in Dubai, right? You have another company in Nigeria. A client from Mexico tells you they want to buy hibiscus. You write them, you guys do the deal between your Dubai company and the Mexico company. You now use your Dubai company to now write to facilitate that transaction in Nigeria. So if the Mexico company is going to pay, they're going to pay your Dubai, right? They're not going to pay your company in Nigeria. If they pay your company in Nigeria, then you run a risk of your money getting shitty rates. You are in control of whatever invoice you write between your Dubai and Nigeria. So assuming it was a 10K deal, you can write a 1K deal and get the goods out. You can now ship it. I mean, you get the goods out. You're going to ship it to to your Dubai, and then from there you forward it to you can forward it ultimately to Mexico. So all you're trying to do is just to hedge. So all your dollars doesn't get stuck with CBN, and then they give you some naira value that's low.
Okay.
Or you don't need.
A quick question. Okay. So, the one we talked about was them they wanted the hibiscus itself in the raw form. But is there a channel where, because I'm looking into where they do extract for oil and soap from hibiscus, where
soap?
Yeah, they use part of it for soap. Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Oil extract, like you can do stuff where you make, instead of selling just the raw, like the biscuit itself or the dried form, it's already processed in some ways, or an actual finished product where you actually manufacturing in Nigeria, but you're not just sending the hibiscus itself, but the product. So the company that you actually send it to over there that use it, would that partner with you where you can make it in Nigeria, then actually send the finished product to them, as opposed to them just getting the hibiscus only?
Not for stuff like hibiscus. People essentially just drink it, use it for tea, or they cook with it. So the additional processing, the real processing you're doing is just drying it, and they do it old school way in the north.
Yeah, you just look into the oil. They do the scrubs and soap of it, because I looked into that a while back. And
yeah, but I mean, why do you want to do all that in Nigeria? No. That's why. Do you want to be?
There was a company that was into that. But okay, let's move on.
No, the question I'm asking you is: do you want to see yourself as an investor in Nigeria, or you want to see yourself as a patriotic Nigerian? They're two different things.
Well, I'm presented to my wallet. That's
yeah. So if you are loyal to your wallet, you'll get that thing out in raw form.
Oh, so it's more profitable than that.
Yeah. I mean, if you even get it, assuming you are buying it for yourself, Seth, and you have all these processors, all this food processing in America that can help you package something into branding. They brand it for you. Assuming you do a brand, you open a brand, tea. They help you put it in tea bags and all, and you start doing the retail yourself on Amazon or something. That means you have the end-to-end value chain. You make more money doing that, and you open yourself to less risk because at least you can guarantee that the processing done will be world class. In terms of liability, how do you protect yourself if it was something processed in Nigeria and then someone takes it and then gets sick? You get what I'm saying? So it's if you want to be a righteous Nigerian, then you go and
Sometimes you
open.
guilt trip you the way.
I'm not guilt tripping you. I'm just
Okay,
saying it the way it
okay.
is.
Let me just This is the thing. So for the family business already has ties to West African countries. So, and in some part of that country, like Senegal, for instance. So I just want to leverage on that access to those countries to have additional things done over there. So I'm looking. That's the thing. Like I already have in some of those West African countries, I already have access to the company that But I'm like, so using that access and contacts to do other things. So that's why I'm kind of looking around, and I've studied that demand for hibiscus, like Senegal, for instance, is very high.
Sudan has the best one. Sudan.
Yeah. So I'm just that's the reason why. So, but I get your point. I get your point.
No, because you have to. Last time I went to Nigeria, I was like, am I going to look at Nigeria like an investor, or I'm going to look at Nigeria like a patriot? They're two different things, and you will see different
Why
things.
not both now? Why not both? I can't you?
I beg, live story. It's only if it makes money. It's only if it's more economical for you. That is when it's going to make sense. Like, okay, if you're into cassava now, I'm not going to tell you that you should be carrying 2 bars of cassava all over the world when you can process it in Nigeria, dry it, process it, and then ship that makes sense.
Yeah, but do you remember? You remember I showed you that chart that they were talking about the list of the highest imported produce for manufacturing in Nigeria, and how
I remember
that. That's what I'm like. Where there's a guaranteed supply for it, if I can cut into that market of import and I just supply. Now the problem is the cost. If I make it in Nigeria, would it be cheaper than what they were exporting?
It is expensive making stuff in Nigeria because is the generator, the trust factor. I mean, you have to be there too. Like your mind gone won't be, except you're a Shylock investor and you have time and you can sit with them and do all that stuff. If you don't have that kind of time, then why would you want to do it? It's not.
The problem is like, I don't want to say in the public, but the Molebi business that's been there for decades, they are not open to those kind of. They like to play it safe. So they feel like I want to use their access to. They're like, no, we do this, we add it to it, and maybe in time we see meeting on Zoom and all that stuff. I'm not. So they're like, oh, so I think by you're driving, but now over you see my point. So
but now it doesn't matter now, as long as you show them that you can pay them.
I have to come with like a big, you know what I'm saying? I have to come with something that is like, okay, let's try this and that, and just present it and see how it goes. But I have to be available to make my case for that as well. That's so it has to be something that I know they have access to, but at the same time they can make money off without risking their whole structure of what they have. But yeah, we'll talk when you're ready to make your presentation to the platform. I mean, one man. Wait, I mean, when it's ready now, we'll be here.
Presentation, though.
We'll be ready.
I think Kulata it doesn't mind doing it, but I don't think he wants to take the responsibility of hosting he can come and just be like not an expert opinion, but an informed opinion. But
Yeah, no. What man? Yeah, let me say it in Yoruba. So what's happening, babe? You know, think about it already. What was established to do a part of it. to gbé new idea, to fẹ́ gbé new idea wá. Kí n gbé bí mo fẹ́ ṣe fúnra mi already. And to one bet they had their structure already. Sorry, me already there. But okay, mo fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan bye yo. Okay, mo need the access to A, B, C, and D. Okay. Èló ló fẹ́ gbé wá. Do you want to sell your shares or part of it to invest in it if you really believe in it? The issue is I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
You're not ready
to reach my share of the so I'm looking for if people like you to bring your funds.
Part of the idea that I had with the platform was that it would be a hub for business activities to take place. For people, and I think some of it is happening because I think people like Patrick and Ola in Canada, they're actually setting up companies together. So that's part of the overall concept for it to because if we establish a place of trust, then business can take place.
But like because most people don't really want to be involved in the operational of the company.
Yeah,
people
want
put their money there and
forward and wait for profit, don't
they? They don't want to know about what is buying or what is selling. So most people are thinking in the house, but just want to okay, Clotter goes to Nigeria every 5 minutes, so he knows people there, he knows ABC and D, he has all these links and ties. How much do you guys need? What is my return on investment? What is the time frame? That's what they want. They don't want to know about we employ or ABC or D. They don't want to be involved in that. So I think that's the majority of people that come here, right? If I'm woman, I think that's the majority that come. So, but people that will travel down to Nigeria, I don't think we have a lot of them, and on the platform.
Me, I don't go to Nigeria often at all. Not at all. It's
But you have connections clearly and enough to.
I met a very good contact, very very good guy, very trustworthy. So. Yeah, but outside, now with that, but outside of that, not that I go.
There's a girl called Maria Habila that she's if you want to do that sort of agricultural business in the north, she's probably one person you want to make contact with.
What did you call her name?
Maria Habila.
Habila.
So because it's not even the business itself of the farming, everything, that's fine. It's the logistics of number one, moving that processing, storage, then moving it to the port, the cost, who is buying here, what is the rate, what is the demand. That's what I really want. When I say that,
Babati, you can get yourself a contract from here or from China or from wherever. You can get yourself a contract that sometimes it may be monthly. A lot of times it's just a one-off. But if you get that, the main thing is, do you want to be greedy? Because if you're going to buy from reliable source, you probably go and buy in Kano, where a lot of things have been packaged. Okay, I know one Asian guy. He lives in California here. He's been doing this agricultural product from Nigeria, and it's made millions of dollars. But he doesn't waste his own time. He just goes straight to Kano. He doesn't try and look at all these other small states to be seeing, oh, can I get it cheaper here? Can I bag it there? He just goes straight, buys it from Kano, supplies his people, moves on. So he does trade. There's one other friend of mine, actually, if I mention his last name, and he's from your town. His last name is a very popular last name. He is now even doing a different thing now. He's buying food stuff. Not food stuff or finished Nigerian food stuff that you buy in grocery stores and all. He's doing how many containers? Last time I found out. He's doing a lot of containers now, export. That Niger this, Niger that, some few things that are maybe Epo, when I say Epo, palm oil, this. Now he's doing multiple containers every month and he's making dollars. He's an Egba boy with a very, very, very popular last name, but I'm not going to talk about his last name at all. So he's doing that, which is just and all they're doing, they're supplying all these grocery stores, all these African a friend's brother to one of the biggest suppliers of grocery stores in the UK. Is that one of my friend's brother? I think he's made a lot of money in doing that, and that's just even one
You know the
small area.
supermarket Tesco. Do you know the supermarket Tesco?
Of course, I know Tesco now.
To my shock and alarm, the other day in Tesco, Gary on the African aisle, on the world aisle, you know they have a world aisle where they put all this
Uh,
Gary, you know,
and there's
Gary Ijebu,
I
they,
mean, one man, you see, those companies, they are cutting into the profit margin of your so-called local Nigerian stores, because in most cases, okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me. They don't buy together in bulk. So if you see like Boston or New York or Houston, those smaller stores, African stores, don't buy in bulk. Everybody buys on their own. So it's more expensive for them to buy. So eventually, when HEB, when you are seeing a buy in HEB and Walmart, and eventually you're gonna own my marketing money lower now. Either a big store come together and form something big and huge, or if you keep playing these anky panky games of you're gonna end up. So they have to figure that out on their own. But were involved. I don't want to be involved in anything operational, even in here in the diaspora, where let's go be like a HEB sized African store, and
no,
just
you don't. Why don't you just supply the ones that exist?
because those ones too, if I go into details, oh my god, these people don't have no clue. It's a long they well just that's why they are the what they are. Just
yeah, but they already have their supply channels, though. That's the thing now. Do they not already have this? Unless you're able to undercut.
Exactly. You can undercut some of the supply because who doesn't want a better deal?
No, like okay, let me give you an instance. So there's this store in Houston. If I mention, people will know. It's not just the Ngotonta only. It's your marketing, the way you present what you're selling. So that store, if you go there, if I know what I'm talking about, if you walk into that place, ODB, Starbucks, but it's a Nigerian store. It's a Nigerian restaurant.
Yeah. So I mean,
But
here's another thing. If you have the time, and maybe if your spouse or something has time, there's some things that you yourself can retail on Amazon. You buy it in bulk, you package it, and you put it on Amazon. And if you have that's why I say if you have the time and like, you'll extend your margins. Okay, let's just even use Nigerian ginger or something. Everybody knows Nigerian ginger. They use it for perfume. They use it to eat. It's special in the market. You can create your own brand. You can even, I'm not even saying you import a container load, maybe just part of a container. And then you take it to a box packager. They help you box package it. And you brand it yourself and put it online. If you have time. And it's not going to spoil. It's not something that spoils. That's just an example. Assuming you want to do the entire value chain yourself.
yeah, because I know you. That's the thing. Like maybe the way I was raised, I want to see the entire value chain and see the best plugin. As opposed to just focusing on one part of it. Even though I would still make money in that part. So if I want, like, okay, even if I don't have, okay, I have 7 lines here, right? 7 blocks, right? And I'm focused on 1 or 2. Okay, I have contacts within the family. How can they help me with 2 or 3 parts of it? And I give them their own cut, and everybody wins. So like a lori
You're a big man now, so
no, because no, Cleta, this is what was going on. They will help me with the logistics. So when it comes to moving stuff like that, I'm good. I know I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's okay. That one is covered. Okay, what else is there? So that's what I'm. That's the whole thing. But yeah. But
there are many things that can be done. It's just whenever anybody goes to Nigeria, look at what the foreigners are doing. Don't look at what our own people are doing. Please don't. Look at what the foreigners are doing. Use them as a template. You will not go wrong. Because they're rushing into Nigeria. We are running away. And they're laughing at us.
But the case surprised me. The value of house, no, not the newly built one. No, people wanted to sell their whole houses. Over cheap for some reason. People are just wanting to sell for no reason and just leave. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
people are selling houses to jackpot anyhow now, and furniture and all these things. They're just selling it at
There was this 2-bedroom, get the community close to the highway, and like $32,000. I'm like, what the bloody hell? What's going on? In Nigeria? I was surprised.
Okay, my friend's house in one of these estates in Lekki, one of these Oyinbo estates. It was built by it's a Oyinbo based company, one of the oil companies estate. When he built that house, it cost him $1 million. But the value of that house today is probably 400,000. In Naira, it's something gazillion, million, billion. But when you convert it to dollars now, it's like half
Could make any
of
sense.
the dollar equivalent that he bought. I was like,
So he's stuck
this is,
then. He's stuck. He can't really sell. I mean,
it's not selling, it lives there. It doesn't, it's not living, it's not jackpotting anywhere. It's doing well. But I'm just saying, like, in dollar terms, it doesn't, it's not really worth it in dollar terms. Because when we bought that house, the value in Naira, if you convert it to dollar, was $1 million. But now, even though it's a gazillion, billion, whatever, it's not that $1 million anymore.
Hey, Kulat, I'm just listening.
You
I'm kind of
know,
busy. But let me
okay.
see. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to speak? I'll let you speak if maybe you want to speak before me. Go ahead. You know.
No, I was just trying to tell Polata that
Oh,
that's
okay.
a good lesson. That's a good lesson to learn when it comes to investment in the real estate. That some of the amount of the value that you invested, abroad, will determine, the future of it will be determined. If you invest so much in it, if you ended up being like your friend that, uh, building a property of $1 million, but in value, in local value, I mean, international value is maybe 400, 500,000. But I think the best advice is to invest little when it comes to that, so that when a situation like this happens, we won't have much loss per se. I'm just speaking to your friend that invested $1 million in a property.
So he lives there, so
Because
he's
yeah,
enjoying it.
yeah,
It's
I
not
mean, in
like
terms of the value is
Sorry,
still.
but is it one of those $1 million house? Actually, I hope it's not one of those garish monstrosities that we see. Just
no, no,
those,
no, no.
one man, those houses with no greenery. Like Nigerians would just be 10 million. And
No. This one is kind of like a planned estate, like Yankee style estate.
before the ridiculous one that they build now, the cheap $1 million.
So
You know,
there's some now that is just all concrete, like Banana Island, all
It's ridiculous.
concrete,
It's ridiculous. I'm like, where is
no
it?
green, no nothing.
maybe jungle,
Hey,
a
Kulata.
jungle,
You know, you know
concrete
why?
jungle.
You know why I don't invest in real estate in Nigeria? Because I'm into that over here. In
I
America.
know
But
you do it in America.
right, but the problem I have, how we are in America. When a particular estate, when it was newly developed, in the future, it's going to be more things coming there. So the value of things is going to appreciate. Unlike
Mm.
Nigeria, I mean, when you build a very nice neighborhood, let's say part of neighborhood in Lake or Victoria Island, I mean, it's not going to appreciate because there's nothing really to keep that place up. Instead of it's going to
no, it
degenerate.
will
So
appreciate. I have to disagree with you. If you build an estate,
right.
then necessarily it will appreciate because the quality level of those. If you build, let's say, a lower middle class estate, then you have a lower middle class population coming into that space, and then it increases the desirability, and then of course facilities will come in, amenities will come in, They say
But
that
one man,
they
that
say
doesn't happen.
property it goes up every 3-5 year cycle.
But
One
it
man,
doesn't happen too much in
have you guys
Nigeria.
discussed the headline of the show before?
Sorry, which headline?
The headline of the show.
Oh,
Your
you mean
current.
the Cardoso?
Yeah.
No, we've done it. We actually played this clip and then we reacted to it. We are almost 2 hours into it now. I thought it was going to be a 40-minute session, but no, we've done that. You have to watch
Yeah,
that. Or do
it's
you
a
have any
reverse of
comment?
what.
Do you have any comment on
Progressive,
that?
you can go back. You can go back and listen to that.
No,
Yeah, I'll go back and listen. I just want to say
yeah, go on.
it's a reverse of what you did last night, because I was expecting a show last night. All I hear is that the show was ending. Like, one man, you should have left it a little bit, let people come in.
I was about to click the
Yeah.
link.
I was about to log into him. Like, let me join the.
You
And
know
just,
what
I'm like,
happened?
what happened?
Yesterday, I just used that window to
What
bail out.
man on this room? What my fellow
No,
escape to escape?
I was all bunged up with flu. I was thinking maybe I shouldn't have even started the session. And then I saw War Peace there struggling to settle in with the
What man? Hold on. What man? Let's discuss this.
so I
Oh,
just
what
I
man?
just
Hold on.
used
No,
the
what man?
window
Hold
to
on.
bail out.
Why do you refuse to take your flu shot? We've talked about this on the year. Why don't you take flu shots?
I cannot bear injections. It's just the simple matter of that,
One man is just even myself. Even myself, I'm just coming out of the flu as well, so I'm coming out of the cold as well. So.
You
I
guys
think
don't
the
take.
whole of the UK
You
has
guys,
it anyway.
you guys don't take vitamin D, obviously,
And
because
it's from your life.
you say you're laughing.
You're scared
Me,
of
I
losing.
don't mess around
That-
with my vitamin D.
But T, you are a
Yeah.
medical doctor.
I
You know
only
what I
just
observed?
discovered the vitamin D from you, Kulata. It's only after you mentioned it that I went and bought
You
it.
know,
Because
you
we're
know.
black people, we're supposed to
And my
be
wife is a
somewhere in
nurse,
the
by the way,
equator.
with a first-class degree. So I'll be telling her off about that.
Baba T,
Well, one man in this case, I think this is my own fault as well, because I've really relaxed on my oranges and fructose and stuff like that. So I've not been eating that much of it for a while now. So I think that caught up with me. But I don't like using the vitamins as in the capsule or tablet form anyway. But I just like to have them in.
But Akim, you have melanin. You're born to live near the equator, but you're somewhere in upper northern hemisphere. First of all, the small sun that comes out, you don't even go out for the sun. The small sun that comes out, your skin blocks it because you have melanin. So where are you supposed to get your vitamin D3 from?
Omega H3.
So Akim, when you do your lab, just have them do your. In most cases, it will be low. It's always very low for black people in the diet. So just take this. They will give you like a high dose of D first, then you just supplement it from your local store. Yeah, they just take one or just walk out there during the summer and during the
Baba T,
days. Try to
Baba,
go ahead.
what is the essence of taking a flu shot and you still end up in the flu shot? I mean, with
No,
the flu.
people always say that. That's not true. If you have flu after you're taking the flu shot, that means you already had the flu before you took the flu shot. That's what that means. It didn't mean that you got it out. No, trust me. If you have it after, you already got the flu before you got the flu shot.
You
Yeah,
know,
So it's not.
Baba T,
Try
Baba
to
T, Baba T,
don't say it's not effective.
Baba T,
It's effective.
I have a toddler.
Baba T,
I have a toddler
Baba T.
that
Let
got
me
the
ask Baba
flu
T
shot.
something.
Then
Baba
the
T,
mother got a flu shot, and the mother gave birth. And that toddler now is also showing some symptoms of flu. I'm the only person in the family that have not gotten the flu shot yet. And I'm not done with the flu, but the little one that was supposed to be immune from the flu shot is down with the flu now. So how do you explain that?
It takes a while for your body to adjust to be that immunity when you take the flu shot, right? So if you look at research data, what happens is prior to you taking the flu shot, you were already exposed to the flu. So it's got nothing to do. If you want to argue that maybe it was effective for you, it's a different argument. Okay. But to say,
yeah,
oh,
Baba T.
no, your body was already exposed to the flu prior to you taking the flu shot. Is what happened. So you don't say it wasn't about the flu shot itself. So that's not Diwali. Come on. Yeah, go ahead, Akil.
Yeah, Baba T. You see the reason why I had one issue during that COVID. Like, I took the first shot, it was fine. I took the second one, it was fine. You see, when I took the third one, I got sick to the point whereby I felt like, what have I just done? Like I'm not even sure even COVID could have got me that sick. So I was so since then I'm like, what are these people doing? Are they making this thing so that someone who take them can just get sick or what? Like it was so bad, property. So
No,
now since then,
so let me also add to it. So the reason why they tweak it every year is because we also have different strains of flu, right? So if you remember 07, 08, the first time they had that thing come out, we had the California strain, right? So they also have to adjust it every year because you have different strains of flu vaccines. So it's not might not mean that is not effective for you. I mean that year, whatever you got did not match whatever the strain for that year is. Okay, but it will still help out in a way. But
why are you showing? Why is one man showing house? Do you want to buy that house?
He's showing us mansions with no grass, with no greenery. Now, where are the trees? Where are the where?
As a matter of fact, I watched that
What
video
is
clip
this?
yesterday.
This is
But you know
horrible.
one thing, one man. When I watched that video clips of a young man, I think he's also into the what do you call this? The one that the tire now is doing. What do you call that? And was showing some of this building in this southeast that were built inside God knows where. And there was, some of them are millions of dollars. And I was
Yeah, it was
wondering,
actually when Kulata talked about $1 million house. I watched that clip as well. That's why I was
when,
showing it.
it was actually last night that I was watching it. I was wondering, when will the development get to this place that the value of this house actually,
No
will
tarred
yield
roads
a
to any of those mansions, by the way. Not a single tarred road.
And
So
I
you
know
don't have
for a
enough
fact that the
influence
children
that
of those people will not live in those houses when they grow up. So
Hello.
I can hear you.
Sorry, the guy was explaining in that video that they have this concept of taking your wealth home. So that's what seems to underpin that space. So in order for you to demonstrate, you have to take your wealth back home.
but what man do they
That's why
care
they
about
built
their neighbor?
Man
Because
of prestige is
right?
here now. You can
They actually
explain.
said they only go to those houses twice, during Easter and during Christmas, and that's it.
Hello.
One man,
intervene?
you see this issue of kidnapping and Yahoo and all of these things. These are the reason why most of these people do what they do. People who just go and flaunt their wealth in just to use it to oppress other people. So others will want to make it by any means to get to that same to attain that same level. You don't see people like Dangote or these rich, wealthy people flaunt wealth like those. Even those people are far richer than the person who built this house. So, and they have houses anywhere. They could buy houses anywhere in the world for cash. But you don't see them behave in this manner. One man, you see this thing.
I have never seen a picture of Dangote's house once. I'm sure it's out there.
Exactly.
I have
One
never
man,
seen
you see this thing happened. So this thing happened in Benin years back. Like when we were growing up, this intention of like people were like almost kind of you're okay with whatever you are. Life was easy. Nobody really cared until people start traveling to Italy. One man, some people will just come. They will bring. I didn't even know some of them got these cars from scrapyard. It was when I travel afar, I realized that these people, most of them even go to the scrapyard to get these cars and bring them home. They will bring 5 cars. They will be jumping up and down the street. So when you see those behavior, then it just registers straight in your head that, or what, for me to make money, I like to be like this person. I want like, you know what I mean? So all of a sudden you see people start going through land to try to get to Europe. People trying all sorts of means to make wealth. Today you go to Benin, every single family have 1 or 2 persons abroad. Those were the trends. People who just copied others who came from Europe, because those people who came from Europe could not behave themselves. They came to oppress people who they left at home. And this is one of the problems that we are suffering today because of all this stupid behavior. If you build your house, keep your house private. Nobody's interested. Nobody want to see it. It's your house.
But Akim, there's a culture. There's a culture to it. Maybe man of prestige can explain.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, man. You are the
Yeah, I think there's a culture to it. There's a pertaining culture to die, because in Igbo land, I mean, I don't have any house in the village, okay? I don't subscribe to that philosophy. But anyway, there's a culture to it. If you go abroad, like you living abroad, and you don't come home and build house, it could be $1 million worth of house. It could be $500 worth of house. So people gonna be thinking you're not arrived, particularly the men. You are not a man if you don't come to your village and build a house. They will think, you are nothing. I mean, that's just the perception, which, in my own opinion, it's kind of nonsense.
Man of prestige.
Yeah,
I have an Igbo friend here who built. If you see this guy's house in
in the
his
village.
village, the worst part of it, the worst part of it. When I ask him, I say, "What's wrong with you?" It's a land that his father shared with his brother, right? Like his father and his father's brother shared the land. So the father's brother had built some mud house, those mud house
Oh yeah.
on the side of the land. So this guy, I'm not even sure if it will cost him more than 2 million to buy another land to build a house. He decided to build that big mansion close to this mud house. Now he's trying to pay his father's brother's son, so that he can demolish the house.
Yeah, that concept there doesn't make any sense to me, because
Oh,
those have
that's
a lot
why
of them
didn't you just go?
don't even have a road. I mean, it's pretty much like a mud or whatever to get there. I don't know why people does that. I think like you said, I think it's in form of intimidation. To intimidate, like I'm the biggest man around in this village. I'm the best. So like you said, that kind of perpetuate you. People would try to obtain what they are not capable of doing, to the extent they can wingle into Yahoo or doing all that kind of business, or reach you or try to keep people to get money. Yeah, there's a bad side to that. I mean,
Yeah,
I will definitely
I've
confirm.
seen 2 or 3 people do that thing. And for me, my other friend had a house already. There's echo.
Oh, I don't
Can
know, man.
anybody hear me? Can anybody hear
Or
me?
is it coming? Is it coming from just my side?
Yeah, there's echo. I don't know where it's coming from.
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you
Yeah.
at the
That's why I always say to mute yourself when you're not speaking. Yes,
Am I
I
okay?
think it's actually
You know,
coming from my team, but yeah, whoever is not
when,
speaking, just yeah.
okay. When I watched that video, I mean, I'm a Yoruba man, and I think it's rather a similar culture that actually, encourages people to bring the wealth back in. But when I watched that place, I watched I noticed that the entire street where those houses were built were actually scanty. Nobody was walking in the street, and I was wondering, when would the value of this property built here? Even the person that built their house, some of them live abroad. So I was wondering, who now enjoys the house? I'm of school of thought that when you're going to do that not just for your selfish reason, but do that for the benefit of all. Build it to rent it out so that can bring some proceeds, for you that you actually can use for your family.
Dewale,
Adewale, that's not the concept. That's not the concept behind it.
I know,
Behind it.
I
I
know that's
told
not a
you,
concept,
is to show that
but
you have arrived, because there's no way you're gonna build a house in the village. It will appreciate. By no means. Even at all, a lot of them don't have a tight road to go there. It's not built for appreciation purpose or for you to sell it in the future. It's gonna be there for the
that's
next generation. So it's just to show you, like I stated, that you're a man and you have arrived, you have made it. But
One,
if you don't build a house, if you come back to your village, nobody. I mean, they will look at you as a riffraff. You are nothing. You don't even talk. If you come to a meeting, you're not even gonna talk because you haven't
one,
built a house.
one
But
man,
they
it's
don't know
one man
how
there.
wealthy you are in abroad. So that's just the concept behind that. Is it
I,
good?
I,
One
I
man,
am here.
are you coming out tonight?
I am coming out tonight, but I'll be wrapping up in another 5 minutes thereabout.
Yeah, that's why because I want to leave now. I just want to know if you're gonna be back on
Yes,
tonight,
I'll be,
or
I'll be,
or
I'll
this
be
is this is
yes.
the show for today.
All right. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Hopefully, one man does not just show up for 30 minutes and run out of people that show up.
Hopefully, one
No,
man
no,
does not
no,
go
no.
full time to
I'll make sure I keep him. I'll make sure I keep him. I'll make sure I keep him there tonight. I'll make sure I keep him there tonight. One man,
all
you need to understand. You need to understand that your show is like a therapy to people as well, not just they argue back and front. You need to understand that people listen to the show to go through certain whatever they are going through as well. So you need to put people into
I
consideration.
know that, I know it's background noise to a lot of maybe some people doing night shift. Some people just they even use it to go to bed, So yeah, a lot of people
Exactly, one man. So you
yeah.
need to put all of us into consideration next time, please.
All right, brilliant. So gentlemen, we'll start to wrap up unless anybody else has anything to add, and then we'll reconvene for tonight.
No. One man. The only thing I can say, if you could take some element of this of the airline today and add it back to a later conversation, I don't know if that's fine with you.
Yes, we'll do a follow on from it. Yes, sir.
Sorry, what's the update? Was something new happened apart from the? I thought they were moving to Lagos, right? That's anything else?
No. You know, Cardoso granted an interview to Arise TV, and he talked about how people were they were just ordering for dollars without any traces. They just listen. You need to go and listen to the interview, man. You know that Nigeria is finito.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We take it off.
One man, before you wrap up, is Kuleta still on the show?
In body, but not in spirit.
I'm here, Duali.
Okay. I'm kind of, I was taken aback. There was a time you asked me a question about a particular gentleman from my hometown, and I was wondering where you know him from, even though he was in the government. But I was wondering how you get to know about him, but you never really, get into it.
He's a family friend.
Oh,
Olowo
how
Nick,
do you know? How do you know?
he's
How do
very
you know it's
influential
my
now.
hometown?
More because he's a very influential person.
Oh,
How do you know we are from the same hometown?
Yeah, very.
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing though. The person I was talking about is late now.
I know you actually described him in a very, exact we both know what we were talking
He's a
about. But
prince. I know. He's a close family friend. I was actually with one of the family members when I was in Nigeria.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow.
We're very
Okay.
close.
Diwali, by the way, the killing still at the way. So someone there. I know you are from Ekiti.
He's more like a brother as well, but
Oh,
yeah, he's more or less like a brother. I actually followed one of his wife.
Déwálé, pé normally wọ́n máa ń gba ticket láti rí Kulata ni.
yeah, I'm telling you.
One of my actually surprised about
Normally wọ́n máa ń gba ticket láti rí 3 months
so
to 3
guided.
years. 3 months.
I know I've slipped, maybe one or two occasions, but I'm so guided about, where I come from and all that. But at a point, I was a little bit taken aback that how did the collector get to know that this individual and I were from the same hometown? Maybe he paid attention to when I mentioned one or two things about my hometown. Maybe that was where he got the.
No, I paid. When you mentioned your hometown, the most prominent person from your hometown that I know. So, I mean, close friend, where it's close family friend.
No, hold on. Diwali, I asked you earlier. I want to talk about someone there.
No, they're not from my hometown, but that can't happen where I come from.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later tonight. I get to go.
What man? Is it going to be a new thing now, or are you going to be doing the morning session now, or are you just a one-time thing?
Yeah, no, it's as and when. Maybe on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, certainly. But we've been waiting for Yemi Cardoso to come into space. So when I saw him in space, I just decided to react to.
Because people like me can function better on the morning drive. Yeah, that afternoon session gets a little bit too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I know the timing is not right for everybody, but yes. But the morning session really an hour and a half, no more than 2 hours.
That's
because it cuts in the middle of the day. All right, BT. So BT, hopefully we'll see you later. Go on.
No, and by the way, Diwali show should also come up very soon. Diwali.
We already have his theme music now. We already have his music. We are just waiting for him.
Diwali, come on. You know, I've been trying to advocate for you to have your own after midnight session. But
You know what you guys are interested in me and Ancoin is not what I'm interested in. It's on the
no, I
don't. A bottle of wine.
okay, well we can talk about some of these alcoholic brands and
related
how
matters.
how beneficial it could be to the health and some of the downside and all that. We can talk about that, but I'm not really. I don't know. I'm not the one
No,
connoisseur about
but
that.
what man do? No, it's not, on a more serious note. Do like there is that it's a more relaxed environment to talk about Nigeria. That's just
Oh yeah, I know.
it's not alcohol related issue on the more serious. It's more like it's a more relaxed environment talking about politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll put something together.
All right, brilliant. Gentlemen, let's reconvene for later on tonight. Thank you, everyone. And